So I have more to do on this piece. Not done yet. I worked a little bit off camera, not much though. I think I did a little work right around there, if memory serves. And I would like to maybe work around here, this go around. It's been neglected long enough, and I think I'd like not to neglect it anymore. Paper is buckling quite a lot, and that's something that'll be taken care of when I put the mat around it. Now the mat will extend bibbidi-bip. Not much, but I have to account for that when I'm creating this image, because if there's anything that there's not a lot of vital imagery that's going to be butted right up against the border. However, if I think about that will not even be there in the final image because it'll be covered up by the mat, then it goes some ways into the consideration of how I put down the line. You know, just keep it in mind is what I'm basically saying. I took the long way around to say that. Verbose. That's what I got going on today. All right, so cap off of the, this one is the medium nibbed pen. Zoom in. Here we go. See how buckly that is? That's a lot of buckle going on. Flip it around and get on it. Let's make these super dark. I think the buckling came about because I was pushing down really hard. There's a few reasons. One is that the paper is very thin, but also I was pushing down really hard at the start of this. Devil may care. Just went at it, not even considering that I was going to make a piece of it. Just thought I'd warm up the skills, warm the skills up. Yes, those skills are warmed up, fresh out of the oven. All right. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that the buckling occurred for reasons that I just mentioned, which is pushing down hard and having thin paper. So how would I avoid that in the future? Use, well, ideally using the best paper from the get-go, and then really everything else is solved. That wasn't the case here, and it can't always be avoided because I don't know what is going to turn out to be something I want to work on to completion, and what is just a warm-up sketch or just doodle. Don't really care for that word, but sometimes there's no other word available. Pomodoodle. That doesn't work either, does it? Yeah. Now this will be covered up or pushed down and covered up just like, how much? Like that much. Like that. Frame shops are not comfortable doing that often, so I have to do it myself, and I save money as well by cutting the mat here in my home with a mat cutter. Very handy. It serves its purpose. This is probably not all that interesting, so what I'm going to do is quickly get out of here, come back later off camera, work it up. See what I'm doing here, I'll just continue doing at some other point in time. I'm going to get to a more interesting part of this drawing, but I don't want to just leave it hanging there in half completion, so I'll leave it in 5/8 completion. How's that? Sure. Not complete, but nearly. And then move on. So give me a few seconds here to get to a point where I'm feeling like I can let it go. Just don't have that feeling yet. Apologies. However, if you are at this point watching, no apologies necessary because you're watching, intrigued enough to keep going. What's he going to do next? Who knows? Maybe he'll bring in a Palmadoodle. I will not. All right. I think that's good enough for now. Let's see. Now, where do I want to move into? Yeah, I'm going to switch up the pens. I'm going to put this medium to the side and pull out the fine. Oh, there it is, right there. It's so fine. Because that way I can get into the little nitties and gritties. Try not to touch that. It's probably still a little wet. Also, touching the paper is not a good idea with my hands because they have oil in them. Turns the paper brown. A little bit of me for history. Right. This little white bit here, I'm going to fill in just a tiny bit. A lot of bits going on. Bits flying everywhere. There. It's still a bit white, but it's been toned down. So I'm trying to make this even, these areas, at the expense of its brighter tone. Okay, but you know, you do what you have to do to make everything right in your eyes. You are steering this puppy. Puppy. Okay. So that feels pretty good. Now I'm over here filling in these little areas where the white of the paper is showing through. There. That smooths it out. Same for this right here. A little more even. Now I'm just tapping like so. Okay. Yeah, I'll do the same for this area right in here. This is also a bit uninteresting. I would be inclined, if I were watching somebody do this, to just skip through and get to the end. Like, what was his session like today? Let's see how it ended up. That kind of thing. But I'm not able to do that while I'm drawing. You know what? I'm touching the paper far too much, and so I will pull another piece of paper over here and push it down like so. That way the oil in my hands will not affect the paper. A little bit of touching, I guess, is fine, but just, you don't want to sit your fingers down on the page. And yes, I do wash my hands. No matter, humans have oil in their hands. Right, now this is being, the ink is more evenly distributed. That's the word I was looking for. Distributed. And then that accounts for a smoother outcome. There's a little bit of, I like these little dark areas, these dark dots there. So I'm going to leave those there if I can. And what I mean by if I can is, one way to remove them is just to make the area around it darker to match, then they're gone. You can't, of course, erase them. That's one of the features of ballpoint pen. No erasing, only covering up the lies. Okay. I feel like I'm nearly there, however, sometimes that's a false assumption. And I want to accentuate this little mark here, so I'm going to go in and darken it up even more. Make it a triangle. There you go. There I go. Okay, I don't want to make that so dark that I can't see it anymore, but it's there. And now you'll see this fine nibbed pen, as opposed to the medium nibbed, can actually go faster in some regard, because although the medium nibbed pen can put out more ink at once, it can't get into the areas where this white line here, as a result of no ink, it's not quite as good as the fine-tipped pen, nibbed pen, getting in there and covering it up. It's just a little, it's more for very large areas with no ink at all. That's really where it shines, but, or just larger pieces where relative to the overall size of the paper, it acts as a fine tip pen, fine nibbed. All right, so I'm moving in here slightly. I think I want to keep this area open, so I will. All right, move down. There's no ink there at all, so that gives me an opportunity to work with it. If it had ink on it, then that opportunity is gone. See? And sometimes I just cover it up anyway. Will I? Maybe I will, actually. I'm going to, yep, it's gone. yeah, the way that I chose to work with it is to delete it. All right. So there's some areas in here that I'm just gonna let be for now. Who knows what's gonna happen later. All right. Now this, not this, this right here. Yeah, that's better. Less sloppy. All right. Now what do I want to do with here, this area? Well, darken it in. Naturally. I did the first pass just with lines like this. You can see between them. Then you go in, you hit that area between. Now I'm just tapping it. There's not enough room to have a stroke in there. Haha. Okay, nothing funny about that. All right. More of that action. Leaving this little white area alone for now. A lot of for nows. Okay. That actually adds to the lightness of the whole area. Maybe I'll want it darker later. I'm gonna tighten up this little white area there. It may be filled in later. Okay, I'm just tapping that area. Now this extends over here, this curve. Darken that in completely. So this white area may be disappearing, I'm not sure. Depends on how it behaves when I've tapped this area. Yeah, seems like it disappeared a bit. No love lost there. Okay. Yeah, and I'm back here again. Just can't seem to escape this part. Right. Yeah. This is so sloppy. This whole area is very, very sloppy. So I think I'll work on this area here. I'll take a look at it now and forward the video and see what it looks like at the end, and then see maybe what I did to get there. You have that luxury. Yes, I'm back over here. Because at this angle I can see some parts that I wanted to smooth out, or the light hit it differently and revealed some areas that still needed work. Alright, maybe I'm back over here. The reason I turned it is because I wanted to get a better vantage for my hand to work this curve here. And I see some areas that I didn't see before. The light hits differently, and therefore I'm able to see some areas that need to be filled in. And also I'm able to cross-hatch, which means stroking the line in a perpendicular motion to the previous line, which was going this way. Now the line's going this way. Cross-hatch. And that has its advantages. You can fill in areas better. The disadvantage is it doesn't go in the same direction and has a different tone to it, a different texture. But I don't know if maybe I didn't name it correctly. It's not quite a disadvantage, it's just a different look. If it's not what you want, I guess, then yeah, it's not an advantage. What do you want? Becomes the question. I want less buckling, but can't always get what you want then. Less buckling. Buckling really makes it hard to work on it because you can't get the paper is too light to get a full good solid confident line down there. You just it's not easy. It's just not easy. So you got to push it down, get that solid line if that's what you're seeking. Okay, now this area I can have to turn this way to advantage my hand here. Yeah, like that. So I have this white area, which gives me some opportunity. How am I going to proceed? By covering it in? Well, sometimes that's what's necessary. Yay! Right. Now I'm just tapping. Although the strokes obviously go in one direction, but tapping is point rather than an area. Now moving away from this, let me get back up into here. Right. So far, oh, see, now I'm back up in here again. Why? Why am I doing this? All right. So I'm fairly happy with this. That means I can sign off on it and get going on other areas. Like here. Right. Okay, that's okay. There's this little white line there. Maybe I'll leave it. It adds a little bit of a boundary there. Keeps this curve in check. Which goes like so. Right. Still needs to be filled in a bit more, which adds to the buckling, but can't do anything about it. Maybe there's a chemical or some gel buckled away. Restores the firmness of your paper. That would be nice. I was going to say about the solution to the problem, and it's one that I'm slowly starting to realize that is the only viable option to the problem of the paper buckling and other things like what will this paper look like in 200 years? Maybe non-existent, much like very weak one-ply toilet paper. It's gone very quickly. Just unravels like that. So how do I avoid that? Well, here's a solution, and it feels very simple, and that is use better paper. Have a bit of trust in the future where anybody who has this hopefully will keep it out of the sunlight, keep it out of the rain. I put it in a frame with a cover, clear cover over it. Try to protect it as much as possible, but once it leaves my hand, somebody else has it, that's it. I can't do anything about it, so I take a picture. And so then I have a copy. And I'm making a good strong case for just painting, acrylic, or oil, or whatever. Not watercolor. Watercolor will suffer from the same thing as a drawing. And gouache has its own drawbacks as well. It cracks easy. It's very fragile. Very fragile. You gotta put the gouache behind glass. You have to put watercolor behind glass. Pencil, yes. Ink, yes. Acrylic and oil? Nope. Those are tough mediums. Didn't mean to make that as dark as it is, but there it is. Dark as it is. And I'm continuing to make it dark. Why? Because it's not smooth. Alright. So back up into here. Yeah, I wanted to work on this area right here. This middle section. strengthen this oval. Huh, that wasn't the most beautiful. Not bad, not great. Anyway, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because it's done. All right, here we go. Okay, so I have a few intersecting lines. Like that one. And this one. Did not mean to cover that up so much, but I did. All right, so let's do it from here then. See what we can do. So this curve does not resolve itself very well for me. So I'm going to do something here like this, you see? So now the curve is a little more, I don't know the word, but it's a little more of that, whatever that word is, it escapes me. Curve goes up and down, it's nice. Whereas before it was not. So this curved line, we talked about this a little earlier, this line here. Now I'm slowly deleting it, but I still want to keep remnant of it there. So, but it's not as strong as it was, which is fine. As long as it's, well, whatever. There you go. I was going to say as long as it's there, but it's not always the best option. Doing a lot of tapping now because this is there's not a lot of area. We sometimes people refer to as real estate, but no, I'm going to call it area. What do I want to do with that? So, it's begging me to do that, and there it is. And now I'm going to match this curve, or try to. wanted. Question may be something like this. Like, if you want it, then what's stopping you from achieving what you want? Because I've said a few times, oh, I didn't want that, and then it's not there. What I apparently wanted. And to that question, or that, what I would say is, I don't really know what I want exactly. Not exactly. I have a suspicion, and that suspicion of the shape that I'm looking for, the texture, the tone, the composition, any of these things, they're not known to me at the outset. And then when I draw something, anything, here was just a bunch of lines. It looked like this, right, everywhere. Why do I even draw those lines like that? I can't answer that. It's a compulsion to put lines down in a particular way. It's reflective of me, my thoughts, my desires, what I want to see. So I lay down a line, and then from that one line, my hand is connected, to my brain, of course, and then that tells it where to go next. But it's all very quick. It's not thinking in the sense of, I'm going to ponder this. It's thinking in the sense of next. I like that, I don't like that, yes, no. And it's happening very quickly like that. So when I say what I want, and from there, it's a little slower and it's more ponderous. I do consider it a bit more, but I still don't know exactly what I want until I do it. And then there's does it jibe with what I was thinking? Does it match? Again, I said what I was thinking, but I wasn't thinking exactly what I wanted. Not exactly. There's an approximation there. So this whole area, you go back to what it was and see it now. There's a lot of it I just filled in, right? And I hadn't considered what it looks like now at the time. It was just a projection, really. An assumption of what it was going to be. And so I was aiming toward that, if there was any aim at all. Did I achieve it? Well, every time that I lay down a mark, it adds to the overall picture, which wasn't there before, and it wasn't in my mind either. Now it is. And so there's a reset of what I'm looking for based upon what was put down. And what was put down was, yes, put down by my own hand, from my own brain, but all of that was influenced by something else. What? I don't know. Point being is that I don't see it before it's done. Not entirely. Well, not at all, because it is completely different than... If it's different at all, then it's completely different. Maybe similar, but it's completely different. If it's different at all, then it's completely different. You either have something that is, or you don't. So that, I wonder if I could make that answer to the question, what do you mean by what you want? I wonder if I can make that easier, more succinct. I don't know. Let me try again. Oh, this will be interesting. For me, anyway. I don't know what I want. I only have an approximation for what I want. And it always changes based on what I put down. And what I put down does come from me. However, not entirely. And what is me anyway? That starts to get into the whole philosophical idea of like, who am I? But yes, me, the person that put this down, isn't aware exactly of what it is that I want. I only have an approximation. And from there, I put down a line, and then I reevaluate. I say, okay, looks like that. So then I go from there. And then I put down the line, then I go from there. And it's a constant process of having an idea, slightly approximation of what it is that I want, and then putting down the line, and then seeing whether it sticks or not. And so when I say that's not what I wanted, I didn't see it was going to look like that. And it's not surprised, but because it's always the case whenever I'm drawing. That's what happens. Sometimes I'm maybe disappointed because I thought that it would look better another way, but what do I know? Because it only is what it is. I mean, that is all we get. Nobody likes that expression, it is what it is, but something along those lines. Yeah, for lack of a better expression, it is that. You put it down, and you put the ink down, and then you get that. You don't get anything else. So how am I to know what it would have looked like? Unless I take a copy that I had previously and try to work on it that way. But still, that would be another copy. All right, let's take a look here. What do we got? This area here, I don't mind it. I think it's pretty good. Is it great? It's pretty good. Let's just say that. Let's leave it at that. Let's leave it at the pretty good critique. And I'm going to try and fill this in here while I'm here. This is going to take just a minute, because I'm not very happy with this area right in here. And I want to be before I move on. When I say move on, I'm going to go up in here and work in that area. But before that, I'll work here. Yes, 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 yes. Get this sorted. So much buckling. Yeah, this is quite the lesson. Yeah, so back to this, I'm returning to this topic again. The quality of paper, how to avoid using less quality paper and start using higher quality paper. And the way to do that is just to use high quality paper all the time, even when I'm trying to just, warm up, because time and again, these warm-ups have turned into a piece of art that I want to frame time and again. So maybe I'll learn one day. Maybe I will. Let me take a look here. See, there it is. There's all this paper there. And I hate to waste paper. Trust me, I have a lot of good paper. And a lot of bad paper. Quality. I have the whole spectrum. Newsprint up into archival paper. Don't have a whole lot of archival paper. There is this tendency to not want to ruin good paper. However, there's the old idea that The only way to waste, the only paint that's wasted is the paint that's left in the tube. That kind of idea. The only paper that's wasted is that that's not used. So there is no wasting paper for using it. But it is something that I have to remind myself of. All right. Am I okay with this one? This area here? Also, you'll notice that there are some very faint blue lines in the background, perhaps you might have noticed. And interestingly enough, I think that the blue lines will fade over the years, and they'll be gone. So I'm not too worried about that. And besides that, it's just blue lines. Who cares? Really, it doesn't matter. And some people might even say that it adds to the whole realness of it. Oh, look, this has been printed. It had a purpose. Who knows? What somebody thinks about it is not really my concern too much. I mean, it is something that I like to know because it's interesting, but it doesn't, or I don't want it to affect the picture itself, what it's going to look like. This is my expression. What I'm doing anyway. Once it's on the wall or once it's in somebody's eyeballs, it becomes their expression, how they see it. And it's nothing to do with me. I'm gone. I'm out of the picture, as I say. All right. Now I'm moving over into here. I didn't want to do that. Again, didn't want to do that, and I did it. Yes. Well, I'm here, so I'm going to work here. Because that's where I'm going to do. Like so. I'm doing a lot of covering up here. Now this one I think I want to keep fairly light. You see, I say that's what I want. Now, will I want that later? Depends on how the line gets laid down here. I'm going softly as I can while trying to keep it fairly accurate, or the line work here should be down, down, down. Same stroke, same direction. That's what I'm thinking. And if I loosen my grip, then yes, it becomes even softer. So if I'm really loose, I'm just very soft like this. But I want to go quickly and accurately, so I have to tighten my grip a bit. And then that leads to more tension, which could possibly push the nib down onto the page a little harder than I had previously anticipated. Now I don't have to go so accurately because I'm just going to fill in this area here just at the bottom. So I'm going to go very soft. So I loosen my grip quite a lot. So it's very, very soft. And the tension is gone. Just melted away. Oh, that's nice. I like the lack of tension in my hand. Appreciate that. Yes. Very soft. Okay, spin it back around. See how that looks. Right, right, good, good, good. Still have this little chunk up in here. Not sure what I'm going to do with it. See, don't know what I'm going to do with it. Now let me try and talk you through what's going on in my mind here. I see there's this little tiny nick coming out there. It's some sloppiness right up in here. This is not finished. This has come around and it doesn't look very crisp or clean. Now it looks better, you see. This line here can be improved by just doing that, and it was improved. This is a continuation of the line that comes through there, so if I curve it around, it might disrupt that continuation. So what I want to do is just accentuate the line, make it stronger, in other words, like so, but not changing it as far as its trajectory from that point. In fact, I could even make it stronger throughout, like so. Yes. That strengthens that. Right. And it goes into here, but not. I'm going to tap this area because there's no room for lines. Right. Go back into here. Now that I've had this advantage, positional advantage to my fingers, like that. Good. And then this curve up here that I just worked on before still is not resolved. There it is. Now it is closer. Now it's resolved. So that leads us back to what I was working on over here, this line. Why is that important? Because it is part of this area right here. Now when I move it, turn it around this way, I'm seeing other things that can be improved with regards to that line. And wow, it looks completely bad here. So I will fix that by moving the line down just a bit, like so. Yeah, that's better. Tap, tap, tap. So it's going to move into this area right here, and then be finalized probably at that point. Yeah. Also, this right here can be filled in, and it was good. Right. So putting some lines like that to follow through with this angle. And now I'm back here. Tap, tap. Stroke, stroke, stroke. And remember down here I had the tense hand. Don't want to go back there just yet. Now I'm dealing with this part again, right? So I don't like this notch thing happening here. So what I think I will do, I just saw something I have to work on before I get into that. My eye is always scanning the area around it. And I can't do everything at once. So I keep going back and forth with things. Now this angle here is not, it's at odds with this angle here, and I just do not like it at all. So what I'll do is use this line work here to try and fix what I don't like. And when I say fix it, I said, you know, that there is one word or one meaning of that word, and I mean it. Well, I guess there are more meanings to that word, but the usual meaning. Repair it, make it better. There we go. Is it better? Well, it's not finished yet. Let's see. I don't know. I just feel like the paper is almost destroyed here. It's not good. It's taking a beating. The fibers are like, I'm done. You wore me out. All the stroking, all the oil from the ink. This is oil-based ink, by the way. All right, so I still have some areas right in here that are not consistent, so we're going to work there like that. Yes. Okay, yes, this was the area that I had my tense hand. And then I relaxed it down here. All right. Now what am I going to do with this little notchy thing? Well, I could just leave it. Or I can opt not to leave it, which I'm just doing right now. I opted not to leave it. Right. Right. Okay, just made it thicker. That's what I did. Made it thicker. That was the solution. Sometimes just covering it up completely, then you're done. As that was. Okay. Yeah, no. And so I have a little dot in there I gotta deal with. What am I gonna do? Well, once again, could just leave it, but it fights. It actually adds, that tiny bit adds something that I don't care for. And that's gone. And that's gone. Yep, just got rid of all those white lines. And I'm not sad. Okay. Well, that's how I'm going to deal with it. Well, that's gone. If I could foresee how this drawing is going to go, I would just have covered all this area up at the very start, and then we'd be done. But I couldn't see where it was going to go, and so I had to work my way through it. And the way I did that was by doing what you saw, if you stuck with me. All right. I do suspect that working it through like this has another advantage. There is some, the history of covering up the areas and working through it leaves some trail, some remnant of what came before, and I think that affects the overall look of the piece. All right. That's what I tell myself. So I think this area is fairly good for what I can get out of it. And I want to now work up in here, and then we'll call this session done. Not too bad. There's a lot of junkiness outside of this area, but it's hard for me to let it go, though, while I'm here. Okay, but let's work here. So these little fragments can be dealt with by a quick loop. Loopy loop. So right here, this curve goes abruptly. Still haven't found the word I'm looking for, but it is abrupt, so I don't like that. So that's a bit better. This area, not quite right. All right. There you go. You see me get frustrated with myself. Okay. I had a nice curve, then I didn't. And now I do again. So it all worked out. And I kind of like the line work in there as well. But this line work needs some going over. Cross-hatching now. Tap. You'll see here the texture that's left through cross-hatching, unless I fill it in completely and then it's opaque, it doesn't matter. But there's some texture here, interesting texture. All right. Yes. Do I want to fill in that little itty bitty white area? Maybe. I'm going to leave it for now. Fill this in, yes. Not 100%, so it gradates toward the center here. Darker on the edges gives it a rounded look. All right. Playing with the illusion of light there. Okay. Yes. Move that down. So it's starting to fill in and become a completed area. Right. Some contrast here, so should I make that darker? Yes. Here I am back up in here. All right, so back down to here, darker I say, to contrast with the piece, the part that's up here, which I'm continuing to make darker as well. When will it end? When it's completely opaque. I see. No. All right. Yes, it's a bit darker. Not done yet. Not done yet. Okay. Now these areas here. Will I fill them in? I don't know. Maybe leave them. This area down here. Yes. Okay, right here. This can be lighter because it still has contrast. Right. And then here as well. interesting. This little white area is a little too big. Right, okay. Right. The buckling doesn't help very much here at all. Okay. Do I want to... Now these have some very discrete lines. Yes, yes, yeah, like that, rather than a continuous tone. Do I like it? Hard to say. Okay, then I have this up in here, and this curve plays down like that. It's a lot of individual things that are nice, but they don't work as a whole, which is sometimes disappointing, because I like this little area, for example, and then if it doesn't work, so I got to cover it up. It doesn't. When I say it doesn't work, it doesn't work in the unified whole of the piece. It becomes its own little busyness, and it's not good. Too much detail doesn't work either. Right, okay. So before I was talking a bit about this area here, and I'm going to cover it up. And this too. You don't belong here. Right. And I had some nice lines going in this direction, which they still do. However, if I make this a little darker, they'll go away. So that's what happened there. Now I'm back on this area. Once again, these lines, they can go away. And back here again, back to the lines that are slowly disappearing. Right. And there's a curve here. I'll leave it for now. And then here. Let's find a little bit. Did he say final? He did. And this as well. curve beta, which I did. It is now beta. Huh. All right, so let's look at what I've done. I worked all of this area, including here. Didn't go down into here, and I didn't work this area, and I don't think I did much with this. Down in here, we have some, this area is tight, I think. A lot of tightness happening in here. Very loose and sloppy right in here. And this will definitely need to be tightened up because it's just no good right here. This is an example of an area that's both loose and tight and works. These gradients are starting to look nice, but they're not yet there. And what's going to happen on the other side of these circular areas? I don't know. Probably darken it in, I'm guessing, I'm thinking that that's what's going to happen. A lot of imagining, a lot of thinking is happening, resulting in some of this work, some of the effort. Completing some of the areas. That is what it has been.
Do you wanna take a swing at me?
There's a lot that goes into it. Lots and lots and lots and lots of love.